It wasn't just about Jesus rising from the dead, it was a powerful sign that his victory over death was for everyone who believes in him. Imagine the scene in Jerusalem. People who had been dead were suddenly alive and walking around the city. The shock and amazement of the locals must have been incredible. This event wasn't just a miracle, it was a clear message about the power of Jesus' resurrection and the promise of eternal life for his followers. For those who witnessed it, this moment would have been unforgettable, deeply strengthening their faith and understanding of what resurrection truly means. Darkness covered the land. From noon until 3 p.m., an eerie darkness blanketed the entire land. This extraordinary event is documented in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. According to these accounts, the sky turned dark during the crucifixion of Jesus, lasting for about 3 hours. This wasn't a typical solar eclipse, as the crucifixion took place during Passover, which is celebrated at the time of a full moon. Instead, many ancient and medieval Christian writers saw this phenomenon as a miraculous sign, symbolizing the profound significance of Jesus' death and its impact on the world. The darkness is often interpreted as a sign of God's displeasure with the events unfolding, a moment of mourning for the death of his Son, or a powerful symbol of the spiritual darkness that Jesus came to overcome. This event left a lasting impression on those who witnessed it, including the Roman centurion, who later declared, "Surely he was the Son of God." The temple veil was torn. At the moment of Jesus' death, something extraordinary happened in the temple. The veil, a massive and intricately woven curtain that separated the Holy of Holies from the rest of the temple, was torn from top to bottom. This veil was no ordinary curtain. It was about 60 feet long, 30 feet wide, and around 4 inches thick. Its purpose was to keep the most holy place, where the Ark of the Covenant was kept, separate from the rest of the temple. Only the high priest could enter this sacred space, and even then, only once a year on the Day of Atonement to offer a blood sacrifice for the people's sins. The tearing of this veil is incredibly significant. It symbolizes the removal of the barrier between God and humanity, made possible through Jesus' sacrificial death. This act showed that access to God was no longer restricted to the high priest or confined to a specific place. Instead, through Jesus, everyone could now approach God directly. The fact that the veil was torn from top to bottom rather than bottom to top indicates that this was an act of God, not man. It was a divine intervention, signifying that the Old Covenant, which required repeated sacrifices and rituals, was now fulfilled and replaced by the New Covenant through Jesus' once-and-for-all sacrifice. Earthquake and resurrection of saints. At the moment Jesus died, the earth trembled violently, causing rocks to split and tombs to open. This dramatic event is detailed in the Gospel of Matthew, which describes how the ground shook, rocks broke apart, and graves were opened. This earthquake was more than just a natural event, it was a significant sign marking the momentous occasion of Jesus' crucifixion. Following this earthquake, many saints who had died were brought back to life. These saints, referred to as holy people who had fallen asleep, emerged from their tombs after Jesus' resurrection and entered the holy city of Jerusalem, where they appeared to many people. This extraordinary event served as a powerful testimony to the reality of Jesus' resurrection and the promise of eternal life for believers. The resurrection of these saints is often seen as a preview of the general resurrection that Christians believe will happen at the end of times. This event powerfully demonstrated Jesus' resurrection, showing that his victory over death was not just for himself, but for all who believe in him. The appearance of these resurrected saints in Jerusalem would have been a profound and startling event for the people of the city. Imagine the shock and awe as individuals who had been dead were seen walking among the living once again. This extraordinary occurrence would have served as a tangible affirmation of the miraculous nature of Jesus' resurrection, reinforcing the belief in his divine power and the promise of eternal life for his followers. It would have been a moment that deeply impacted the witnesses, leaving a lasting impression on their faith and understanding of the resurrection. The Centurion's declaration. The Roman centurion, along with his fellow soldiers who were guarding Jesus, exclaimed, "Surely he was the Son of God." This profound realization came after they witnessed the extraordinary events surrounding Jesus' death. The centurion, a seasoned soldier who had likely overseen many crucifixions, was deeply moved by what he saw. Several remarkable events led to this declaration. First, there was the supernatural darkness that covered the land from noon until 3 p.m. This eerie phenomenon would have been unsettling and awe-inspiring for anyone present. Then, at the moment of Jesus' death, a powerful earthquake shook the ground. The earth trembled, rocks split apart, and tombs opened, all clear signs that something extraordinary was happening. Additionally, the centurion observed Jesus' demeanor and words during his crucifixion. Despite the immense suffering, Jesus showed remarkable composure and compassion. He even prayed for those who were crucifying him, saying, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." This display of grace and forgiveness in the face of such brutality would have been striking to the centurion. The combination of these supernatural signs and Jesus' extraordinary behavior led the centurion to conclude that Jesus was indeed the Son of God. This declaration is significant because it came from a Roman soldier, a representative of the occupying force, who had no prior allegiance to Jesus or his teachings. It highlights the universal impact of Jesus' death and the recognition of his divine nature by even those outside the Jewish faith. Jesus' burial and resurrection. After Jesus was crucified, his body was taken down from the cross and placed in a tomb. This tomb belonged to Joseph of Arimathea, a wealthy follower of Jesus who had bravely asked Pilate for Jesus' body. The tomb was brand new, carved out of rock, and a large stone was rolled across the entrance to seal it. Jesus' burial had to be done quickly because the Sabbath was approaching, and Jewish law required that bodies be buried before sundown. His body was wrapped in linen cloth with spices, following Jewish burial customs. The women who had followed Jesus from Galilee watched where he was laid, planning to return after the Sabbath to anoint his body with more spices. On the third day, early in the morning, some of these women went to the tomb and found the stone rolled away and the tomb empty. An angel appeared to them and announced that Jesus had risen from the dead, just as he had promised. This resurrection is recorded in all 4 Gospels and is the cornerstone of Christian faith. The resurrection of Jesus is significant for several reasons. First, it confirms Jesus' identity as the Son of God and validates his teachings. Second, it demonstrates his victory over death and sin, offering the promise of eternal life to all who believe in him. The resurrection also fulfills Old Testament prophecies and is a pivotal event that transformed the lives of his followers, empowering them to spread his message throughout the world. These 5 extraordinary events that followed Jesus' death not only marked a pivotal moment in history, but also laid the foundation for the Christian faith. From the miraculous darkness and the tearing of the temple veil to the powerful earthquake, the resurrection of saints, and the centurion's declaration, each event carries profound significance and continues to inspire believers around the world. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others who might be interested. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'd love to hear your thoughts and questions in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.